Very good evening to you present here. Today's case presentation will be done with a case where we have given an intervention using play therapy. And this is a small introduction about me, and I'm making it clear to my participants that whatever cases are present in case presentation are real cases, but not ongoing cases, but cases which were in the past during my 15 years of travel. I've picked up cases where I've assisted my seniors or where I was given an opportunity to work on as a junior. It could also be cases which I handled independently in places where I go as a consultant, be it a school, a college, or a corporate office or a government sector where I've been, and also my private clinic which I'm running. So this is my academic background, and let us get into today's session. So it would be nice if you can put your mind on this and tell me what are some emotional challenges children are facing in their day-to-day life. You can either switch on the mic and tell me, or you can put it in the chat box. I want you to just think and tell me this whatever you feel. There's no right or wrong. You're just going to share. So, emotionally, what kind of challenges children are facing? So, being in this profession or like seeing people in day to day life in our families, relative circle, we know a few of what children are going through. So, in that context, could you please tell me? You can either put it in the chat box or you can feel free to um, speak. Yeah. Can I receive some response? Yeah, please speak about it. So, if there is no response and you want me to move to the next slide, please put a thumbs up. Okay. Just see if you can relate to any of these things on what emotional demands that children could actually have. Okay, so there's a response here that emotional issues, academic issues, adolescent issues. Okay, so as Gayatri rightly mentioned, there are a few things that even I have brought up to just share with you from what I have seen from my own work. Their importance depends on marks. Yes. So, how important the child is considered into that family or within the relative circle or in school? It basically depends on how well the child is able to score marks, is how the child is validated on that basis. And even when parents encourage their children to make friends. They want to make friends with the one who is popular in studies and smart in extracurricular activities, but not with the ones who are not able to perform according to the academic expectations of that particular institution. And some emotional other emotional issues can be, some children can be a victim of emotional neglect because of parental conflicts. In certain homes, for whatever reasons, when there are conflicts between parents, they emotionally they are not able to provide for children or that particular child, where they can feel victimized. And alcoholism in family, if there's one partner parent who is addicted to alcohol, then the other partner is always running to treat this person, and the kind of chaos that happens at home, the quarrels, and not taking responsibility, financial crisis in the family. So, due to such things, it's difficult for the child to process those emotions, and thereby there might be an emotional baggage, and their needs are not met because parents or the caretakers have not provided it to them, or they are unable to role model them. Unavailability of parents when both are working, so either they are left with the caretaker or grandparents who are maybe not that is the role of a parent to do everything a caretaker cannot do, or neither grandparents for their age and for their exposure for of their knowledge what they know they're able to provide, but they cannot replace the role of parents. And sometimes when a parent is in an extramarital affair, it's not only going to affect the mother or the father, in both the cases, in both the genders. So it is again, the victim is most of the time the child. No, they are also getting victimized. Why? Because when more care is given outside to someone in the external world, not within the family, then that child may be victimized and might feel uh, difficult to cope with their own emotions. They might have their own insecurities, that they will be left alone, and their own self doubt. All these can happen. And sometimes, like Gayatri ma'am mentioned, there can be adolescent issues where body shaming happens, and bullying happens. Sorry for the spelling error. Bullying does happen. It happens in all sorts of settings where there's a, even when there's a board outside that there's no ragging or bullying, it still happens. We know it because we work in institutions where we cross that board and go sit inside the counseling room, and such cases are brought to our notice. And comparison with the classmates or cousins, so this generally happens. Parents do it, sometimes teachers also do it, not everybody though. And even like, like, see how good he is in sports, you are like good for nothing, or saying such kind of statements hurts the child a lot. And using bad language on a child is verbal abuse. Using the wrong statements which you're not supposed to utter, something which is not healthy for that particular child. So such things come under verbal abuse. So physical abuse, again, beating the children. So nowadays I think it's better than before. I think one generation back people believed that only when we beat children, when we hit them, they will be disciplined and all that. But now it's all ruled out. So it pains, causing pain, any kind of physical pain to a child cannot be accepted as um, the right kind of healthy grooming of that child. So that way, whether it happens in school, it's prohibited legally. It is prohibited in schools. We are not supposed to hit children. And in Indian system, still though it exists, I think that intensity, like how it existed a generation back, is not today, because of the awareness that you're not supposed to hit children. It's again, children also have self respect, children also have self esteem. Again, sexual abuse victims can carry a emotional burden that maybe they haven't disclosed it with anyone, when they don't have a safe environment to talk to, a safe person to talk to, and they want to feel someone who can actually acknowledge their pain. If they're not finding that kind of person, they don't come out of it that easily, so thereby that healing process doesn't happen. So these are some reasons that we saw about what kind of emotional struggle children can face. And in connect to this, I just want to introduce this concept of expression of emotion through play therapy. It's possible for us to help a child by being a support system, and the role we are playing is to help that particular child or that particular individual to express what they are feeling, express their inner hurt feelings through play. Play can involve anything, like it could be either you're engaging as a therapist. Once you establish a rapport with the child, we engage in a kind of work where we are not verbally asking questions about a particular incident, but we are trying to understand and get more information from the child using different modalities of playing with the child. So it could be anything like sand play that we are trying to encourage. So for me, I've done a lot of work with adults, play for adults. There's no age criteria that it should be only for children. Play therapy can be used for adults as well as children from the age of 4. I have put it in practice. I've done this kind of work in schools from LKG onwards. For based on their age, whatever we can do, we don't say that it's a therapy room. It's like kind of happiness room was that name board in a particular institution. Similarly, medical officer would be a name board, not mentioning that it's a psychologist or a counselor, which may be threatening for not everyone, for a few, due to lack of awareness. So this is more cozy and comfortable, where the room itself is set up in a way. Mostly when it comes to schools, I see to that. I ask and I demand for this kind of a setup where there are colors always, and there are some materials, and there are some play materials when it comes to the primary division. And in a particular school, I exclusively asked for a tub with sand in it, and a box with different kinds of animals and human figures and images other images like maybe buildings, school, or a house or something like that, where which they can just put it into the tub. It will fix. And similarly, other materials for you making storybooks, making puppets, and painting, scribble art, Any form of like using fingers, thumb impressions, colors, and making models and asking them to tell a story, we telling a story to them, playing music. I mostly go with instrumental music, and even body movement therapy. They enjoy dancing. It depends upon the kind of client you're working with, whom you're working with, the what is the kind of challenge that particular child is going with, and we are helping them to just express themselves so beautifully. It comes out. And I wouldn't say that this is a therapy, just a small example for you to understand how it functions. I was playing with my my 5.5 year old nephew. So he had a penguin toy with him. So I just as his aunt, I was participating in that play with him. So I was playing with him. He told me that he wanted to create a house for this penguin. So we were sitting on the bed, and he just put the penguin in a space and put two pillows on top and put some bedspreads on it, and covered it up, and he put a entrance for the penguin to go inside, and he put a school bus there from his toy box. I mean, he picked up some toys and he put a school bus. The penguin goes to the school and gets back home uh, by the bus, and there's a nanny opening the door. This is exactly what happens in his life, is what he had portrayed. And milk is placed for the penguin, it will have, and it will go to sleep. It does things on its own. So this is what he was playing and showing it to me, that this is what is happening in the penguin house. And he wanted me to play the van driver role and such things in that particular game. So I just asked him a simple question, because he was telling me that the penguin does everything on its own, and night also the penguin is sleeping alone. So I asked him how, which grade is the penguin in. So he told me it's in KG, UKG. And then I asked him, why is the penguin alone? Won't it be scared to sleep alone? So he told me, he just gave me a spontaneous answer saying, no, it's not scared because it's used to being alone, and it is not scared of being alone. I said, how? Because it's quite young. So the answer he told, what about its parents? So the response that he gave me was, the penguin's mother goes on night shift, so the penguin is left alone. For many years, it got used to it, and now it is not scared. So this is exactly what is happening in the child's life. I don't know why the child did not bring the father character who does not go on night shift, but the child was talking about the child's mother. My sister, being a medical professional, goes on night shift. Anyway, whatever said and done, parents are working for children. They're spending on them. If they're able to get quality education, and if they're able to speak so much at a very young age, it's because of whatever they have provided. But still, it just came spontaneously to him through a game which we never had an agenda. It was not a therapeutic session, just a family meetup with him. But that's what exactly the child is feeling inside. So, if it is a therapeutic session, then I can probe more with questions like, what would it like? Would it like its mother to stay with him? What would it actually want? If there's no a mother there, then who else is there with the penguin? Can you introduce that character, because he already has a toy box? if it was a therapeutic session, I would have gone ahead with such kind of activities. I'm just giving you a very, very simple example that you will be able to connect to. So, this expression through expression of emotion through play therapy for adults, I conduct it outdoor also. We explore in the lawn, we do work on the seashore. We've done some lot of programs in and around the coastal areas in the south, and we've extended as an extension. We've also taken it abroad, and we are doing some international programs where we help people to express emotions. There are two agendas when we do these kind of programs. One is as if they are people from the same profession, it helps them to learn these techniques and apply it on clients. Another thing is we apply it on ourselves, so some process happens within ourselves, and we feel better after a few days after we are going through these kind of expressive activities, where we did not have a chance to explore it earlier. So when that emotional clouding is removed, then it is very easy for us to look into what we want, to think more cognitively. This helps. So I'm presenting the case of Riti here. Riti is a 6-year-old child, and the reason why this child was brought to me is because the child was not talking to, and was saying that is care of stepfather. The stepfather was a person who took the appointment, and then the mother seemed to be, while meeting with the parents, the mother seemed to be very vulnerable in terms of finance or whatever she went through in the past. So she had lost her husband very soon after the child was born. So the child did not have a father figure, and the mother was, along with the children, was living with her. I mean, with her child was living with her parents for a long time, and then after the child turns 5, they decide to get their daughter remarried, and she so happens to marry this person, and within few months of marriage, there is lot of trouble in the family, and that is mostly around the child. The father, later when I started working with the child, I understood that the father seemed to have certain kind of insecurities, where he felt that he has to somehow make this child call him daddy, or whatever in their language, in their native language, however he wanted the child to address him. He wanted that father kind of acknowledgement from the child. So when we take the history of this person, he is already married, and he did not have children in the first marriage, and that was the reason why he had a divorce. So later, I think that's one reason why he opted to marry a woman who lost her husband and had a child already. So that fathering need he constantly had, and his own insecurities that he's not going to birth a child, he's not going to have his biological child in the future, somewhere pushed him to that fear that if he would not be um, called as a father by anyone, which was so scaring for him, I think. So that is what he expressed when I spoke to him separately, and when I understood that what he's going through. And because of this, he when I worked with the child, I came to know the diagnosis of this child initially was she was going through severe anxiety. And throughout the session, whenever she's accompanied by her parents, usually the grandparents also accompany, so this frequent need to go urinate, to go for to use the washroom often. We don't know whether she really urinates or not, but that urge to frequently go to the washroom was there. So that is like I could see that when she witnesses the presence of father, or she's there, she knows that she's brought for something, and she's doing some work with this so-called auntie. She could be a doctor, I don't know who she is. That kind of a confusion all that she had initially. And as develop a good rapport with children, I mean this particular child, and I started giving her this kind of intervention which I just explained to you, where there are various forms in which you can play with the child. And I understood that from the child, from what the child expressed, I understood that she was going through severe anxiety and fear, and her problem was this stepfather, because he pressurizes her to call her daddy. The child needs time. She's okay, yes, of course. Like when he's a new character, takes time for the child to adapt. So if the child goes and sleeps along with the grandparents, he gets insecure, and he forces the child to come and sleep along with them, and force the child to come and play with him, and whatever generally a biological father does, all that he wants to do. Yes, it's a very good thing that he wants to do all that, but it should just come like that, no, on the flow, on the flow. That bond, the father daughter bond, should develop. The child should feel comfortable with him. He should also start really connecting emotionally to her. If only he had connected emotionally with her and then looked for it, and it take time for both to adopt to each other. But directly putting the child into pressure just because he wants to feel like a father, just because he wants to be acknowledged in the family or the relative circle or the society as the child's father, is pressurizing the child to accept him as the father, and he would be doing all the father responsibilities. Or it could also be that due to his own vulnerability, that he cannot father a child in future, he wants to be this way. Somehow he wants to like convince the child or convince his own self that he has a child. So that anxiety, he is like the pressure that he is putting on the child by scolding, by beating. The child cries, and then a problem happens at home, the mother comes to console. All this the parents did not tell me. I received all this information as I was conversing with this child. So the child is the one who gives me this information, but I'm nowhere directly asking a question to a 6-year-old one on what is your problem. I cannot ask like this. No one can ask them because they don't know to verbalize and talk about all these traumatic situations that they're going through. So that way, play therapy was a very easy method for me to connect with the child, and it takes time for you to decide what you're going to give, what activity are you going to assign to that particular child, or what assessment in expressive arts that you're going to conduct to get more information about that child, so that you work on those needs to strengthen the child, to um, help them heal. So this is the agenda, and it requires a certain amount of training, to get trained in that therapeutic technique. If you're already someone who is from the psychology, sociology, social work background, it's like learning extra kind of therapies which could be helpful for you to work with clients is like added feathers on the hat. So in this particular case, I will get back to play therapy again with more descriptive ideas and suggestions. So here in this particular case, I came to know all this through interaction with the child. All that like very beautifully she had drawn and also explained to me that what happened to her. And towards termination, there were only few sessions where the father cooperated because of the mother's financial vulnerability. The father was the one paying the bills. So referral of father to psychiatrist. So he wanted some treatment because he was extremely vulnerable, and there was more of anxiety that he was going through, which he was showing on the child, and she was getting affected, I felt. So I told him very clearly that please give time for your child. Yes, she will get back to you only when she feels safe. She's not feeling safe. So this is not the right thing to do. Please I understand that you have your own kind of struggles. So please get yourself treated. Until then, please try to take a break. That do not suffocate the child. The child will get back to you. Is something that I told him and also referred him, and the mother to take responsibility for her child. Anyone above the age of 18 is called an adult. So the mother cannot say that I don't know anything. All decisions in my life are taken by my parents and I'm a victim. Always playing victim card cannot be accepted. When you have a child, you are responsible for taking care of your child. When you feel that someone is suffocating your child, it could be even your spouse. If you feel that they're suffocating your child, stand for them. As an adult, as a responsible mother, you have to address it. It's your responsibility to speak to your spouse about it and not make the child again another victim. So you play a victim card and you also make your child a victim is unacceptable. So that kind of education I had to provide to the mother to just feel empowered and just tell yourself that you're an adult. I know that you've gone through tragic things in your life, but every time parents are not the ones who will take decision for you. You need to also take responsibility for yourself and start taking your own decisions. It's okay sometimes we take wrong decisions. We That's how we learn. And at the age of 30, must be close to 30, you cannot like say that I don't know anything. That cannot be accepted. People who are even from the rural, who are not educated, when they're abandoned by the spouse, are taking responsibility for their children. They work, they do black collar jobs, blue collar jobs, they earn, they're able to provide education for children. So this is not a right kind of strategy. So the mother needs more empowerment to put herself in a more empowered place is very important. Family to ensure emotional safety of the child. Yes, it's the responsibility of the family. The grandparents are frustrated because the first marriage anyway became this way, and now they got her married for the second time, and they're very unhappy with the son-in-law's behavior now. So this is the current scenario, and this is how this case got terminated. But I do not know whether um, today they are having a happy living or not, because they did not come after 2 or 3 sessions for follow-ups. As I mentioned, because of maybe father was the one sponsoring the therapy, or wherever you go, even to meet a psychiatrist, he wouldn't have been willing to because of the taboo around. And many a times people feel that the problem is not with me, always with the other person, due to whatever scenario it is, didn't happen. So right now I do not know the state of Riddhi, but when Riddhi came for the therapy, I did whatever I could do as best, and this is what happened. And like, now I would like to make a shift to play therapy, a small introduction about what it is and what are the different kind of activities and how it helps us. Give me a minute. So, an introduction to play therapy. Play therapy is a psychotherapy. We get properly trained under the qualified people, can be effective in helping children, especially children, through emotional and psychological issues. So, when children go down in academics, then it's also very important for us to see if they're also going through some kind of emotional struggle. And I mean, children can also not exhibit the right kind of behavior in a classroom because of the psychological some not, issues which are not which are not addressed. They did not get a outlet, and they, the children, they do not know to verbalize. So that way this has been a very effective tool. So children navigate the world through play. Playing and giving play time for children is very important. Play is primarily used with children, although it can be used with adults. It's typically used with children who are aged 4 to 12 years. It works apt with children. Out of my own experience working in schools, I tell you that it's extremely good because as adults we can verbalize what we feel, but it's very difficult for children to verbalize what they feel. That's why we use different kind of techniques to help them. The primary goal is to help children who might struggle with expressing themselves or their emotions to express through play. Playing is a safe environment, and if either we can go to that space or we can bring that kind of environment within our setting and invite children, both should be fine. So the child should feel comfortable to express themselves. And in a non offensive manner, the questions are always towards someone else, some other characters. Maybe we ask them, "What's your favorite animal?" and we speak about that animal. Many children who are like kind of very active in classroom, unable to sit in a place or show extreme aggression, their favorite animals are mostly lion, tiger, jaguar. What it likes, what it does not like. Many may say, children will say food items. It likes that chocolate or this cookies or whatever, no, whatever they like, they'll be projecting about when we speak about that animal. And when we say what it does not like, it does not like to be tight. So children don't basically like to be space restricted, and they want to be free, no, it wants to be free. And if it is scolded, it doesn't like. So some children, when they draw, when they take an activity of draw a house tree person test, the children drawing a person with no ears are mostly indications of that particular child not wanting to listen to instructions. That also they might say when you talk about the animal also, doesn't like to be ordered or told to strictly to do something, doesn't like. So that way, um, So, therapists use play activities a child might enjoy, from painting to dancing to games. At times, other family members or parents and guardians, if required by the therapist, to get involved in the playtime activities. So, that's based on the requirement. When we are working with special kids, maybe it might be helpful to involve the caretaker, but otherwise, when we, I mean, um, I have, as far as I've worked in schools along with supervision, because I've been in corporation schools, the government schools, and um, matriculation. I've worked with all sorts of groups, from people in the poverty line to affluent class, where this is what we do. Based on the availability, we try to do it. Sometimes we have sponsors when it is an NGO, through the Rotary Club and etc., where we are able to provide these kind of facilities for children from our end, to help them to express themselves and to recover, heal from whatever emotionally they've gone through. So this is something very important. Why does any kind of play activity serve important? It has There's a scientific basis behind play therapy, stimulating the senses. So when they're making a clay model, just imagine they're making a clay model by touching it, by feeling it, and different kinds of activities, seeing some. Everybody has their own style of observing things, perceiving things around them, and to put it beautifully in a way that they're conveying it to us. So, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, no, whatever, no. Some children can be very kinesthetic. They want lot of space to move around. They want to explore. They want to explore things. That's how they learn, and that's the best way that child could express themselves, and that is their style of play. No? And interactive method used to in with children, and it helps develop themselves in terms of cognition. Is again thoughts. Thought wise, what improvement that child can show. Physical development, growth, including how the brain develops organically, how the child is able to develop, including motor skills, social skills. Play is very important, especially when there are a set of children. As a group therapy, when we facilitate a group therapy, when children are together, they like to play, and like the developing that social skill is very important. And that's why we also encourage children who have high energy levels, are not able to sit in a place, they're not able to increase their attention span. We encourage them to put those children in sports. So they exert energy, they develop that coordination, cooperation, patience to wait until their turn comes to play. So all this is very important. So some we are when you're conducting individual sessions, individual play, they develop a sense of internal control with the kind of instructions which is given before they start playing and exploring themselves, and the freedom to suspend reality. So their and intrinsic motivation. So their that innate whatever is there within themselves, whatever they're motivated towards doing, when we are giving them that kind of environment to explore, they're able to do that. So there are some referrals for you. which you can Google and read more about what I'm explaining to you today. So that there are different types of play therapy, as I just mentioned, and the kind of activities as creative arts therapist we can create the activities depending upon the child, and it can help a lot in drastic issues, like from special children to treating children with depression, anxiety, or there is some post traumatic stress disorder, like what I mentioned about verbal, physical, sexual abuse, any kind of trauma that the child has faced. So in all this, there are a lot of things that the child can actually benefit from. So I think I don't want to put in more information to you, as I don't want it to be overwhelming to you. So I would like to receive a few um, inputs from you on what was some new takeaways from the case that you saw, and whatever like I we engaged in today in the case presentation. You can either put it in the chat box, or either you can speak speak what is something that you learned from today. Anyone can. The floor is yours.
Good day, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that marriage by I won't call the importance or whatever it is. When I'm no, they are weak in themselves. It is normally taking place, but no, they are already. What I've seen is these people are already very anxious. One. And second thing, no, they before they marry, they must go for counseling, and they must understand and correct themselves
Yes.
that what is likely with the situation, like the name making the child to love him, or it is because it is a long-standing desire for the person he has been hiding, or he has been experiencing. That's problem. So, firstly, clearing, making him fit to marry is very important. And immediately they clear, now seeing a boy or woman, she's also very worried. So I lost a spouse and having a child, don't have money. So normal, okay, but it is uh, good to wait and see the compatibility or making them compatible. One,
Exactly. So the
that is
point
that.
which you're trying to highlight is, before getting remarried, when they've already gone through trauma in life, it's very important for them to do some self work, and also to
Uh,
not repeat the same patterns which they followed in the first relationship, and then
correct, correct.
heal themselves and start a life would be good
Yes,
for them and people around them.
yeah, yes.
Thank you.
That is very important. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah? Any new takeaways from the case, or play therapy intervention, whatever you understood, you felt that this was something new that is a takeaway for me for today.
Man, can you share that one slide showing about the kind of play? So after this, third or fourth one types of play. One there is a slide. You can't. Can you
Types of play I will have to explain to you in depth, so that I will show you. We will do it in another session.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Seema, Gayatri, Santhya.
As a counselor, like we can know about the social, not social, psychological and emotional setbacks of children through play therapy easily, because they express it very explicitly while playing some sort of games or some storytelling or something. So we can easily make use of it and can conclude what kind of psychological trauma or the emotional trauma the child is going through.
Yeah, to address it.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Santya, you want to speak?
Ma'am, I'm traveling, ma'am. Tomorrow we will discuss in another session, ma'am.
All right, all right. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Okay. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of the program today. And let us meet up with more new information in the next session which we are going to conduct. Thank you so much. Thank you, participants.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you so much, ma'am.